I'm Kristin Kingery, a pre-med major here at Georgia Southern. Today, my topic will be over the Zika virus, a virus that's laid dormant for many years in the heart of Africa. When you hear the words pandemic outbreak, you probably think of the past. Diseases like tuberculosis, the Black Plague, Ebola, and the swine flu probably come to mind. These are all diseases that have come and gone and are usually only heard about as diseases that used to infect all parts of the world. However, there is currently a virus that has laid dormant in Uganda for over 60 years that is starting to become a new worldwide concern. The Zika virus is widely unknown but widely spreading. It is spread through mosquito bites and is now discovered to be sexually transmitted as well, making it the newest STD. More dangerous for pregnant women or women who may become pregnant, the Zika virus causes side effects similar to many common viruses in 1 out of 5 of its carriers. The problem is that scientists know little about it. So, as scientists' knowledge grows, the citizens' knowledge should also advance. With new discoveries being made every day, vaccines and precautions can be used to keep the outbreak under control. So what exactly is the Zika virus? Where did it originate? What are scientists doing to control the virus? What should the people know? Who is affected? How are they affected? These are all potential questions that many informed citizens are demanding to know.
If you've never heard of the Zika virus before this year, you're not alone.
It was isolated from monkeys in 1947 in Uganda in the Zika rainforest, and since then it really hasn't bothered humans much at all.
Until now, the Zika virus appeared in Brazil for the first time in 2015, and more than 1 million people have been infected since then.
Just to put that into perspective, the last largest outbreak happened in French Polynesia, and it really only spread around to a couple hundred people.
80% of people with the virus don't have symptoms at all. The others have mild symptoms, including fever and a rash. So here's why public health officials are concerned.
Now we're learning when pregnant women contract Zika, they can pass it on to their fetuses, and this in turn can cause terrible birth defects.
This is microcephaly. It's a birth defect that involves incomplete head and brain development.
So they look like they have very small heads. And what that means is they're basically mentally disabled, they have a shorter life expectancy, and it's just an absolutely devastating disease.
Microcephaly has multiple causes, but officials think it might also be linked to Zika. That's why public health officials in Latin America and the Caribbean are cautioning women not to get pregnant right now.
In the US, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention took a similarly extreme measure when they issued an unprecedented travel advisory telling women who are pregnant to avoid traveling to countries in Latin America where the virus is circulating. That included their very own territory, Puerto Rico.
Zika virus is carried by mosquitoes. It might be transmitted through sex as well. And the type of mosquitoes that spread Zika live in warm areas all over the world, including the US.
The main vector for this disease is called the Aedes aegypti, and it's mostly found along the southern US. But there's some question about whether it's also carried by another mosquito called the Aedes albopictus, and that has a much broader range.
Right now, there's no cure or treatment for Zika.
They're working on vaccines, but that could take years. So really the only way to protect yourself is to try not to get bitten by mosquitoes, which is difficult to do.
It's especially important that pregnant women are aware of the risk.
There needs to be a lot of awareness about the virus and about this potential for damage to the fetus later.
Mosquito-borne disease. The virus known as Zika continues to spread throughout South America and beyond, linked to thousands of babies being born with shrunken brains. Authorities don't know exactly what to do about it. There's no vaccine, and fumigation is limited.
A company here in England says the key to solving the mosquito problem is more mosquitoes like these.
Here at Oxitec Labs, they've been genetically modified to produce offspring that die before growing into mature adults. Only male mosquitoes are introduced into the wild.
I just wanted to show you the males because we only release the males as they don't bite.
Oh, okay.
It's actually the female mosquitoes which bite and are the problem because they transmit the disease.
Okay.
So as you can see, because it's only the males, I can put my hand in here without sort of worrying that I'm going to get bitten.
It's essentially death by sex. Once the genetically modified male mates with the female, it passes on the deadly gene. That gene then spreads to the larvae. The larvae are then unable to grow into adults. For tracking purposes, they also glow in the dark.
So here we can see six of these mosquitoes, 3 at the top and 3 at the bottom, under normal light. But if I turn down the white light, you can see the ones at the top, there's a glow around the eye. Now that glow is due to a genetic marker.
And why is that important?
What we can do is look at the proportion of the mosquitoes we get back from the field and see what proportion have the gene, which means that they're not going to develop to adults, as opposed to the proportion of wild type ones. And based on that ratio, we can adjust the release rate of our males.
So far, that tracking shows promising results. One study done in the Brazilian city of El Dorado showed an 82% reduction in mosquito larvae, compared to a non-treated area 1.5 kilometers away. Scientists warn that the spread of Zika could spread into a global pandemic. Who would have thought that the key to stopping it could be a glowing mutant?
Okay, so now that you kind of know what the Zika virus is and what it does and how scientists are stopping it, there's also precautions that you can take to prevent yourself from getting it and also to prevent the spread of it. So according to the CDC, there's absolutely no vaccines for it, and scientists aren't sure when that's going to happen because they're not sure if there's other strands or if the disease can mutate, and that way they can't even create a vaccine at all. Also, you're going to want to avoid to travel to the Zika areas, such as Central America and South America, especially Brazil. But if you do have to go there, just make sure that you take precautions like wearing long sleeve shirts that cover your arms. If you bring mosquito repellent, make sure you spray it on your clothes, because scientists have said that spraying it on your body actually attracts the mosquitoes to you and makes you have like a sweeter scent to you. So just make sure you put it on your clothes. Make sure that you're not in a hot, humid area all the time. Make sure you do get in the air conditioning sometimes, just to further prevent the mosquitoes from biting you. Also, if you're going to sleep anywhere you might get bit by mosquitoes, make sure you sleep with a mosquito net over you, like in the outdoors. And these are only in the areas that have the Zika. We don't so much have to worry about it now in the United States, but scientists do believe that it will hit the United States soon. And since Georgia carries the mosquito, almost every part of Georgia carries the mosquito that has the Zika virus, we're going to need to know these precautions anyways. So now that the scientists know how to prevent the spreading, the citizens also need to be informed about it. So the Zika virus affects not only the medical field, but it also affects 2 other fields pretty highly. It affects the scientific field because the scientists are looking for a vaccine. They're researching the virus itself. They're researching the origins, the spread, how to contain the spread. They're researching how it affects the babies, the microcephaly in the babies. That's a huge thing that the scientists are working on. And then it also affects the media. News is affected. The internet is affected. Journalism. They all are kind of not promoting, but kind of informing everybody as they figure out information. They're kind of just informing people about it. So the medical field is affected, the scientific field is affected, and the media is affected. And not only just majors, but the Zika virus affects everyone because anyone can catch it. It's so easy to catch. It's just a mosquito bite or just as simple as a sexually transmitted disease. And you never know because some people don't even show symptoms. So really, the Zika virus can affect anybody. It doesn't just have to affect just a major or anything because it is something that could possibly come to Georgia since the mosquitoes that carry the virus are in Georgia. It's the main mosquito we have in Georgia. So it could potentially affect every single person around here if it becomes an outbreak. So we just need to make sure we know what to do in case that does happen.